Welcome to Vacuum Wars, and to our review of the Roomba Plus 405 Combo Robot Vacuum. The 405 represents iRobot's refresh of their Roomba lineup, having finally moved to LiDAR Navigation as opposed to V-Slam, as well as to more standard spinning mop pads which have become so popular with other robot vacuum manufacturers in recent years. I really had high hopes for the 405 and this refresh in general, but after buying one for ourselves and testing it extensively over the past few weeks, I'm genuinely sorry to report that it was a disappointment on almost every level. And not only did it not make the Vacuum Wars Top 20 list on our website, which is rare for a new release like this, it didn't even make the top 60. And in this video, I'll explain why. So links in the description, and let's get started. First, the basics. The Roomba Plus 405 is a robot vacuum mop combo. It has an auto wash dock that washes and dries its mop pads and refills its water tanks. It has two spinning mop pads that lift up when the robot senses carpets to avoid getting them wet. The Roomba Plus 405 combo is intended to be iRobot's mid-level budget-friendly option that has a lot of features but is not their flagship. I'm going to compare the Roomba 405 with its most logical competitor in my opinion, the MOVA P10 Pro Ultra, as these two products have the exact same list price and sell for about the same retail price. The MOVA P10 Pro recently became our best value pick, so it's a good way to show the extreme differences in value between these two products, which are at the same basic price point. Let me start off with the good stuff, because there were a few things that the Roomba Plus 405 did well. For example, it used its single side brush and single main brush in a floating brush housing very effectively to sweep up debris from the surfaces of hard floors and carpets. It picked up everything from fine debris to extra large debris on both surface types without scattering or any other issues. So for its most basic job, it was more than adequate. It is notable here that iRobot for the first time ever went with a single brush roller for their new lineup, as opposed to the dual brush rollers which they pioneered and patented 20 plus years ago. The single roller was actually better than their previous generation's rollers at resisting hair tangles. In our 7-inch hair tangle test, it only had 17% of the hair tangled in the rollers compared to about 50% of the hair tangled for their previous generations. Another good thing is their new auto wash dock design. This is where when the robot returns to its dock to recharge, it will empty the contents of its dustbin into the included disposable bag in the dock, which iRobot says will last 75 days before needing to be changed out. But its dock will also wash the robot's mop pads, dry the robot's mop pads, and refill the water tanks. It has a removable tray at the bottom for manual deep cleaning, which is nice, and generally the dock functioned well during our tests, though it was a little louder than average during the emptying process. Also, it's missing a few features that I've come to expect on higher-end robots, such as hot water washing and hot air drying. In general, for the price, the auto wash dock was a pro, and it is a major upgrade from the previous iRobot self-washing docks, which have not been highly rated in the past by Vacuum Wars. As I mentioned, the 405 does have lifting mop pads, where when the robot senses carpets, it automatically lifts the mop pads to keep the carpets dry. This allows you to vacuum and mop houses with a mixture of hard floors and carpets in the same run, which makes them much more efficient. The final pro I'll mention is about its navigation. All the new Roombas in this lineup use LiDAR, which in my opinion is a much more accurate way for robot vacuums to map and navigate around the house compared to V-Slam, which is the method that iRobot had been using for previous generations of their smart robot vacuums. And the 405 did pretty good with navigation in the various tests that we did. Its coverage was very good, and its navigation efficiency scores were above average, though just barely. For example, its navigation efficiency score was 30th overall, but it was the best score we've ever seen from a Roomba. Unfortunately, that's the last of the good stuff I have to say, so let's move on to the cons. Starting off with performance metrics, though as I said it was good at picking up debris on the surfaces of floors, it didn't do so well with some of the other performance metrics. For example, its suction power and airflow were both below average on max power, which is not new for Roombas, which have always been low-powered compared to other robots, but up until now, it hasn't really affected the other performance scores. But with the more practical performance tests, like the carpet deep clean test, where we see how good they are at picking up deeply embedded debris like sand from carpets, the Roomba 405 was significantly below average. By far the worst score we've ever seen from a Roomba, Whatever the reason was, it's probably that same reason that it was not good at the 2.5-inch flattened pet hair pickup test, where it got the lowest score we've seen yet, effectively picking up only about half of the hair on the carpet, which isn't very good. But one of the worst scores that the Roomba 405 got was, ironically, where it did the best, which I will need to explain. Regarding its mopping ability, the Roomba 405 uses 2 spinning mop pads which are electronically fed with water to saturate them, though unusually the 405 does not have multiple water settings, just one water level setting, which will be important later. During our dried-on mopping test, we were surprised to see a record score. However, as we at Vacuum Wars have recently learned, this is not the whole story with mop tests, because if a robot vacuum puts out way too much water, it can do really good at this test, but it leaves too much water on your floors and thus leaves them dirty and is therefore not a good mop at all. And that was indeed the case here, where we found that it left behind a massive amount of water. Another big con for the 405 is the lack of obstacle avoidance sensors. These are front-mounted cameras or lasers that help the robot to recognize and avoid household objects. This critique is a little unfair since it's only been recently that obstacle avoidance sensors have started to show up in this price range, but now that they are available in this price range, such as with the Mova P10, which we've been comparing the 405 to, not having them is a major barrier for me to recommend this product even if the other issues were resolved. Then we have the app. In some ways, the app is an upgrade from the previous iRobot apps, as this new app seems to have been completely redesigned, and I applaud them for the effort since their previous app was very outdated, and this new app shows promise. It at least has things like real-time monitoring of the robot and somewhat more granular control over the robot's features than the previous options, but it still doesn't have anywhere near the options as its main competitors, and the app was consistently buggy in our tests, which is also something I've seen other reviewers mentioned. If there's a silver lining with this new release from iRobot, it's that their other options, the 105, 205, and 505, all seem to be completely different products, and so there's a very good chance that those products are extremely good, and the one I tested first, the 405, just happens to be bad. We are in the process of testing all the others in their lineup, and we'll put those reviews out soon, so time will tell. But as for the 405, its current Vacuum Wars ranking is number 70, with a Vacuum Wars star rating of 1.6, where the average is 2.8, so it's a pretty big failure. But if you want to check out some products that aren't failures, go to the Vacuum Wars Top 20 Robot Vacuum list on our website, which we keep updated weekly as we test new products. Thanks for watching. All of the links in the description are updated regularly to reflect our current favorite vacuums in multiple categories. You'll also find links to the Vacuum Wars website in the description, where we have more detailed lists of our favorite products, like our new Top 20 Robot Vacuums list, which is updated weekly.